G'day guys. I just thought I'd film a quick video on property presentations. We just want to standardise the process and the delivery of property presentations as much as possible. So what I might do is just go through an example of a property and I guess go through exactly what we must do and the non-negotiables around property presentation. All right, before I outline the steps, I might just go through what's required before actually sending the deal to the client. So I know most of you do this, but ensure you've gathered all the information on the property and on the property specifics. So this is gathered from myself, Tom, the agent, around particulars. Get a feel for the suburb specifics before presenting to the client. Here, confidence is really key. So you want to be as confident as possible before presenting the property to the client. What we're trying to do as well is always present the property via video call. Understand this isn't always possible for whatever reason. The client might not like it. They might like to sort of go through things quickly on the phone. But that is really the preference, to present stuff via video call. Confirm the client's received and reviewed the deal before the presentation begins, and really set expectation up front, clearly outlining the structure of the call, outlining what's going to be entailed throughout the property presentation. I guess an example of this is, the purpose of this call is to walk you through the property and suburb in detail. Here is what will be discussed on the call, A, B, C, D, E. And after that, gather any questions that they might have. But really, the call should be led by you, getting out all the information, selling the property to the client as to why we like it, and then letting them come back to you with any questions. Also, just discussing communication standards when presenting a property before we jump into, I guess, the steps. So really, the RIPE House standard is to maintain a consistent expert advisory stance throughout. So we really want to be the experts. We really don't want there to be any doubt in the client's mind as to why they shouldn't buy a property. I guess we lose confidence when we ask questions like, "What do you think?" or "What are your thoughts on the property?" We really shouldn't give them an opportunity, at least in this initial stage, to ask us, for them to tell us what they think of the property. We need to really push it to them, really sell it to them, because we're confident in the deal. It's stacked up, and we can't lose that confidence within the client by pushing back on them or delegating them to make a decision at this early stage. So we really need to operate with certainty, confidence, and conviction at all times, and that's really just the bare minimum standard. All right, moving on to the property presentation itself. Look, I would always start from the due diligence. So the client really needs to be aware that not all properties pass our due diligence. We rule, clearly we rule more out than we push through. So there might be a delay in getting this to the client because we've ruled several out before this one's got to them. So that's why I think it's probably prudent to go over the checklist, the due diligence checklist. Look, a lot are going to be self-explanatory. Yes, it's over 400 square metres. All of that, it's not next to a highway. It's not in a flood zone. It's not in a high public housing concentration, not near a roundabout. All self-explanatory, but I think it's really important that we go over them in detail. And look, that's going to give you more to talk about throughout the presentation as well. It's going to give the client more confidence in what we're doing. And I think it's really going to create that scarcity when presenting this property. They're going to think it's a really good one. As we always say, our property is as rare as hen's teeth, and the clients do need to know that. We're not like a normal buyer's agency where we flick things through for the sake of getting deals done. We want it to work really well for them, and they need to know this. After you've discussed the due diligence with the client, hopefully that has built some trust. They'd know that you're acting in their best interest, the fact that you're not pushing any deal to them, and this one has come through to them. Next, I would discuss the property more broadly. as to why you like the property. This is your opportunity to really sell it to them. We like the configuration of the property, we like the land size, we like the street appeal. Next, I would dive into the numbers on the property. So really here, you want to walk the client through the comparables, but first walk them through our appraised value. So let them know that we've got registered valuers on our team that will do the appraisals most of the time. So the comparable analysis they use are really, really accurate, and they can formulate, I guess, our negotiation and where we potentially have to be when making an offer to secure the property. So I'd walk them through estimated purchase price and our recommended buying range. And I'd note that, look, the 689K here is really the top of our range. And depending on our negotiation strategy, which we'll formulate later on in the piece, not right now throughout this presentation, but in a more heated market, it's very likely that we'll potentially have to go close to this number. And we can do that with confidence, knowing that the property stacks up, it's in a good location, and we've got comparables to justify that. We want to act commercially, but we also want to act in the client's best interest. We don't want to be fumbling over deals, missing out. So it's a really key point to set the expectations of the client here, and anything underneath here, anything underneath the 689K is a really, a strong result for the client. Next, I would transition into the location and the suburb level analysis. And look, this is your opportunity again to sell this location, or looking at this suburb or LGA. Devonport, as an example, performing really strongly and in the 90th percentile of all locations around Australia. So the client needs to know how good this is. We only vet properties 80 and above, so being 90 is absolutely fantastic. I would talk about why we like this location. This can all be referenced on the deal sheet. And look, I'll just go over this section with the client as to why we like this location. So obviously we've got the 26 key data points, but these are really the top 5 as to why we specifically like this property and why we like the location in general. So top reasons being for this property: high suburb rental yield, high rental price delta, high new project spend per capita, low suburb sold price delta versus LGA, and low suburb days of supply. And look, if you aren't confident in explaining these before presenting, you must come to Tom and I. We're happy to spend, as long as required is for you to understand what these mean. But as a bare minimum, really, you should be across these 5 key points. So to my point, you can confidently explain this to the data so they don't lose trust in this process, and we keep momentum of this property presentation and the deal going. Look, that's probably it for the location side of things. Next, we'd move into as I mentioned, keeping the deal going, keeping momentum in the deal. Invite any questions. Hopefully you'll be able to answer most of the questions on the call. Hopefully they're going to be really excited about the property and to proceed, but let them know in parallel you're really excited about this property. So despite what they say, you're going to get them a video walkthrough so they can review it in detail. If they've got any questions at all that you potentially can't answer, let them know that you'll go to the head of research or head of acquisitions to get a really detailed answer. But rest assured, let them know that the deal is going to keep moving in parallel. And yeah, look, that's really about it. If they are interested in the deal, negotiation strategy will be a key point, but that's probably a conversation closer to the offer cutoff timeline. Once you gather further information from the agent as to how many offers are on the table, where we potentially need to be, as to not waste time to submit an offer early and then just get leveraged at the start of the campaign. It's always best to wait, keep in contact with the agent, call the agent one day or the day of offer closing, and then formulate your negotiation strategy from there based on the final information provided to you by the real estate agent. And obviously, it's got to be in line with our appraised value. It's got to be in line with where the client's comfortable with. But again, you're the expert, so they really needed to be guided by you throughout this whole process. And then they make a strong, informed decision based on what you're telling them, based on you acting in their best interest, but also acting commercially so they don't miss out on the deal.